Welcome to the Ketovangelist Kitchen. I'm Brian.
And I'm Carrie.
And this podcast is dedicated to making things simple and easy for you in the kitchen. Carrie Brown is a classically trained, world-class chef who has a passion for creating ketogenic recipes that taste better than anything you've ever experienced. But more than that, she loves teaching people how to cook the right way.
And each week on this podcast, Brian and I discuss all the ways you can create awesome keto food that is guaranteed to make you a rock star in the kitchen.
If you'd like to learn more about Ketovangelist Kitchen, you can go to KetoVangelistKitchen.com and sign up for the newsletter.
In exchange for your email address, you'll get brand new recipes delivered to your inbox, ready for you to whip up in the kitchen and enjoy with your friends and family.
So sit back, relax, and get ready to laugh and learn. You're about to enter the Ketovangelist Kitchen. Carrie Brown.
Hello.
How are you today?
Peachy.
Are you? So here, for people who are not aware, and that's probably most of you, Carrie Brown took a bit of a stumble, took a bit of a fall in the last few days. It was not, from what I remember, from what I've heard, it was not a scene from like a 1950s slapstick comedy kind of thing where someone threw a banana peel in her path, and the audience laughed with hysterics. But she did manage to hurt herself pretty good. So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot better than I was the other day when I had a bit of a falling out with a piece of pavement.
With gravity. You and gravity were like at odds, and gravity was like, I'll show you.
And I don't recall there being any laughing. I certainly wasn't laughing.
Right.
I couldn't actually breathe for a while, which was a bit, minorly concerning.
I think the truth of the matter is when you can't breathe, it will only be a temporary concern, because
exactly one way or the other is going to figure itself out really fast.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
but luckily I'm still here to tell the tale.
All right. So I'm not talking to zombie Carrie, right? I'm talking to the real one.
Yeah. The real Carrie.
Right.
Although I think I may have remodeled at least one of the bony portions of my body. But apart from that, yes, this is the real Carrie.
All right. So here's some medical advice for people. If you fall and you think you've broken a rib, there's not much you can do about it, right? So save yourself the trip to the hospital. Unless, of course, you assume that you've punctured a lung, in which case you probably should go to the hospital. So there's your decision tree. Hurt your rib, stay home. Punctured a lung, go to the hospital. You're welcome.
That is probably the soundest piece of advice I've ever heard you give. If you've punctured a lung, go to the hospital.
I like to serve all people. I like to make sure I give information for everyone.
You do it well, sir.
All right.
Oh, and I have to for anyone that doesn't know Brian, I have to say that I posted on Facebook about the fact that I had a fall, and Mr. Williamson here texted me about 3 seconds later to make sure I was okay. So despite what he will tell you, he's secretly a really good guy.
I have no memory of any of that, and I will deny it if anyone ever brings it up. So
I've got it on text.
We are moving on at this point. That's all I'm saying. All right. So what are we talking about today, Miss Carrie Brown?
The podcast host with the mostest. That's Mr. Williamson.
No. We
are talking about bacon, xanthan gum, konjac flour, weights, and roasting hazelnuts. But not necessarily in that order.
No, I would hope not in that order. Okay, so...
And I might throw some more things in there for good measure as I feel so moved.
Okay.
Because I can.
Right. This is your world, and we're just on the ride. So we're doing basically like an odds and ends kind of Q&A thing, and we're hitting enough niche topics that, or if you're American, enough niche topics.
Niche.
Yeah. So that it should help at least someone, right? Someone in there should hear a topic that might help them out in the kitchen. So So it's odds and ends kind of Q&A. So what are we starting with?
Let's start with weights and measures because that's my pet peeve for the week and I want to get it out of the way.
Okay.
So I'd like to start a movement to stop the use of combining two different sets of measurements in the same sentence.
Like, what do you mean?
Like there's 40 grams of protein in a pound of meat.
Oh, see, I don't know if you're aware of this, but just so you know, you're in the U.S., so
right.
That's going to be a tough one. That's going to be a tough sell. I'm just
why?
saying.
Because, I mean, we don't do grams in the US. So why are we talking about grams of protein and then talking about pounds of meat? Because they're two completely different measuring systems.
Right, because people
we're mixing imperial and metric at the same time. And on the Facebook group yesterday, there was this unbelievable amount of confusion because people were saying, 57 grams of protein is 2 ounces, which is true, it is. But then other people were going, well, no, it depends what meat it is. I'm like, no, it doesn't. 57 grams is 2 ounces. It just is. And then it kind of escalated into so there's X grams of protein in 1 pound of meat, which is like it's just so confusing when people use two completely different measuring systems in the same sentence. So is this just cool to say, hey, look, let's do all ounces and pounds, or let's do metric, one or the other?
So here's my suspicion, and you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not. But here's my suspicion. I have a sinking suspicion that this is you trying to sneak in the metric system into everyone else around here. No. Oh, I'm calling ulterior motives. I'm calling shenanigans, and I'm calling ulterior motives. You want everyone to be metric.
I called the infamous Ted Naiman. I called him out on Twitter for doing that very thing, and he now doesn't do that. He's converted. He's grams and kilograms or ounces and pounds. He has aligned to my thinking.
When you say ounces and pounds,
Ted Naiman.
When you say ounces and pounds, it sounds like you're speaking like in slang, like sixes and sevens, bits and bobbles, sixes and sevens, ounces and pounds.
And I got to say, ounces and pounds is what I grew up with. So when I came to America, I was like, yay, ounces and pounds, woohoo!
I had called dibs on the band name Ounces and Pounds. I'm just saying that's
because over in Europe, I think I was at the end of my high school career when England kind of started going metric, and so I know how to do it, but I still think in imperial. I can convert, and I spent my bakery school was in.
I have to say
metric.
Yes.
But my first 18 years were in imperial, and so I can do both, but I think in imperial. I was very happy when I came to the States and found imperial was alive and kicking.
Okay, so you're British. So when you say that
I was born in England.
Right. So when you say that you're thinking in imperial, that's exactly what got the British Empire in trouble to begin with. I think there was
weights, sweet pea.
I think there was a reformation designed specifically against that sort of thing, if I recall correctly. But I think I know where the problem is then. All right, so we probably want to think more democratic as opposed to imperial, is all I'm saying.
Okay, so let's be democratic and let's vote for one or the other.
Right, one or the other. No, okay.
Yeah. I don't even care which you choose. You can choose either, but just pick one.
And you can go back and forth, but don't intermix the two.
Don't intermix the two because it's just confusing for people. So in answer to the post yesterday, which was 57 grams equal 2 ounces, the answer is emphatically yes.
Right.
And there was all these people saying, well, it depends what meat it is. I'm like, no, it doesn't.
Well, so weight
is finite, right?
Right.
Weight is weight. 2 ounces will always be the same as 57 grams, no matter what the
Right.
thing is.
But they're conflating three things. They're
Yes.
conflating two different measuring systems, but they're also conflating
Protein versus meat.
right. They're conflating the
Yes.
actual macro weight or macro amount in comparison to the food amount.
Right.
And they're not allowing for the fact that when you've got, let's say you have 4 ounces of beef, that's not 4 ounces of protein. That's 4 ounces of beef.
Exactly.
So
this whole Facebook post was just a train wreck, and I swear everybody was way more confused at the end of it than they were when they started out.
Right. And I remember getting a text from Carrie saying, I don't know what's going on with this. And I remember thinking, what? And it really kind of went downhill from there. So, so here's the thing. If you're listening to this, choose one, and it doesn't have to, it's not like you're stuck with that for the rest of your life. You can go back and forth, but just make it consistent and understand that food and macros are two different things. Macros exist inside of food. Food and macros are not the same thing, right? So keep that in mind when you're talking about weights and measures. So when you're talking about how much protein, fat, or carbs are in something, that's not the overall weight of the substance itself. That is the macro content.
Right.
So you have to make sure
because there's like so few foods that consist of one macro only.
Right. Like, for example, okay, that's a good point. For example, coconut oil or butter or something along those lines is pretty much going to be one macro, right? Because it's fat. Now,
right.
You get something like, say, bacon, which we're going to talk about in a minute, that is more than one macro. Now, it's considered a fat because the macro content proportionally is higher fat than it is protein, but it's protein and fat, right? So you can't just say, I've got a bloody pound of bacon, I don't have a pound of protein. It's not the same thing. There's a difference.
Absolutely right.
Right. All right. So what's next then?
I did eat half a pound of bacon for breakfast this morning, though, and it was delicious.
Oh, that's nothing. Yeah, that's nothing.
Which is, I don't know how I did that. It's magical. A perfect segue to what I wanted to talk about next. My next odd and end.
Bollocks. All right. What's the next odd or end?
And the odd or end came because I decided to have half a pound of bacon for breakfast.
That's a brilliant segue.
It was, and it was completely unplanned.
All right. Well, there we go. Spontaneous for the win.
Spontaneous combustion of interlocking ideas. So my next odd and end was how to cook bacon.
Wow. Okay. So you're telling me that it's not just a simple matter of unwrap bacon, apply heat, consume.
That's the basic principle of the idea, yes.
Okay.
But there's more than one way to do it, and I would like to suggest that there is a way that is better.
You're telling me that you've discovered a better way to cook bacon? I'm listening.
No, I'm not sure I discovered it. Although.
Shut up and take my money.
Although I didn't read it anywhere, but and I think it was because I grew up in England and my mother. So we're going to have some more translation worries here. My mother grilled the bacon. Now in America, grilling is barbecuing. Yes. Grilling in America is barbecuing in England. So grilling here means you go outside and fire up this barbecue the size of a car and you toss stuff on open flames, and that's grilling. That is not grilling in England. In England, grilling is what Americans call broiling. So grilling in England is putting it under the broiler in America.
Okay, what is a broiler? For people who don't know, just about every oven made since like 1978 comes with a broiler. So what's a broiler?
A broiler is a kind of ferocious, super high heat, let's get this thing brown real fast thing in the top of your oven.
Right. So it's kind of a setting that you can apply, and it's not like a convection kind of heat, but it is. You generally will be applying a hotter heat in a closer proximity for exactly that reason, right? So you're trying to achieve a particular result. It's not that you're
Yes,
trying to
it's
cook.
hot and heavy. It's hot and heavy. Let's get this thing done.
Right. Let's get this over with. All right. So
It's not baking. It doesn't. So you generally use grilling for kind of skinny things. Not you can't bake things under a broiler. It's for meat or fish or crisping the top of your cauliflower cheese, or making the top of your lasagna without noodles brown and bubbly, or toast, or that kind of stuff.
okay, I have to segue onto something real quick, just as a real quick, because I need to know your opinion on this.
Okay.
Zucchini lasagna, is it a crime against nature? Yes or no?
No.
Oh, you were wrong. I'm sorry. I wish that you were right, but you're wrong in that. So let's go back.
No. Let's regroup. Ketovangelist kitchen. Carrie's department.
Carrie's department is the what? Making a horrible Italian.
You can offer opinions. That's it.
I'm relegated to that. That's my role. I'm just the guy.
You have told us all repeatedly that you have nothing to do with food, and all you eat is cheese and salami, and
I eat ham. I eat ham sometimes. That's
why I'm here.
Right. Okay. So.
Because your acumen in the food department is somewhat limited.
And you're welcome for that.
Okay.
Okay. So cooking bacon. So you're saying broil it in the States. You'd say broil it, but if you're not in the States, you're saying grill that sucker.
No, I'm not saying grill that sucker. That was my story. Was I grew up in England where my mother grilled the bacon.
Okay.
Or broiled it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was never a thing where I grew up frying it. Whereas I think a lot of people in America put the bacon in a skillet, in a frying pan on the top, and that's how they cook the bacon.
Yes.
I didn't grow up with that. So I think that's how I ended up baking it. So baked bacon is the way to go.
Okay, so what you're saying is don't use the broiler.
Nope.
Don't use the grill. Bake that sucker. Just like you were baking something, like you had to make, say, soul bread. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
But you're going to.
So let's not go there. Yes, bake it. So one of the problems for us keto people with broiling it or grilling it is that all the fat drips off. Bye-bye fat. We don't subscribe to bye-bye fat.
No.
Well, on our bodies, yes, but not in our grub.
Right.
So the great thing about baking it is that it kind of roasts itself in its fat.
That sounds delightful.
Exactly. But it's also way, way cleaner and way, way easier. And it's just awesome. So you get your cookie sheet or thing with a lip. You don't want a cookie sheet with no lip. You want
that would be messy.
A tray with a lip all the way around.
Yeah, that's gonna be a fire if you don't have that. You're asking for something to catch fire.
Yeah, so let's not do that.
No.
So we want a tray, a baking tray, a cookie sheet with a lip all the way around, and then if you don't want to wash the pan up every day after you've cooked the bacon, line it with foil.
Aluminium foil.
Aluminium foil. Aluminium, yes. Or aluminum.
Aluminum. You can line it with aluminum foil. That's what we use.
Pop it in the oven at 375. It will take 15 minutes. Or 17 if you like it crispier.
Right, but don't forget about it. Now, I'm not saying this has happened from personal experience, but maybe it has. Don't forget about it. Just saying.
Burnt bacon. Burnt bacon's not a good thing.
Right. Okay, so let's run through again. Take your bacon. Now, here's the thing that I want to reiterate this too. This is a general guidelines, right? So we're saying 15 to 17 minutes is basically what we're talking about, but you got to find what you like. Some people like kind of soggy bacon. Some people like really crispy bacon. So fine,
Right.
and everyone's
So,
oven's a little bit different as well.
so put
So,
the timer on for 15 minutes.
right.
And by the way, yes, I do time everything. So put the timer on for 15 minutes. Look at it after 15 minutes.
Do you
Keep going until it looks like you like it.
do you use imperial time or metric time when you time everything? Because you don't want to mix those two. Let's be
I,
honest. You're gonna.
I use good old minutes.
Okay. All right. I'm just checking. I'm just making sure.
It's a good job you're in Austin and I'm not, because you would have got a slap for that.
Yes. So, all right. So, and I would also recommend that you find a brand of bacon that you like and stick with that, right? So, because changing things up, there's different thicknesses and all. You think you got it down, you try something different, it's different. It's a little bit not quite to your liking. Anyway, so
Plus, you do want to check for, as usual, we're going to read the label drum again
Right.
because we like doing that. There's bacon out there that's smoked in maple syrup and I don't know what, and it's got sugars in it and nitrates and blah, 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 blah. You don't want any of that.
Yeah, here's the other thing you want to pay attention to. If it has the word turkey anywhere on the box, throw it down and run away.
Do not purchase it. That does not belong in your shopping cart.
Also,
trolley for those in England.
anything with the term tofaken, you want to not have in your shopping cart. These are helpful hints. Okay, so
For the record, I buy Trader Joe's bacon. It's applewood smoked. It's got nothing in it but meat and no nitrate ugly stuff and no sugars and no anything. And it's just so reasonably priced. It's like half the price of all the nitratey, mapley soaked stuff from the other people.
I buy my bacon with extra nitrate just to offset people like you. So it's a zero-sum game. All right, so you get your bacon, you lay it down in a single layer. Here's the other thing. If you're trying this at the first time, don't have any bacon overlapping because it's kind of a weird thing that happens where it looks like it's uncooked. It's not necessarily uncooked, but it looks gross.
This is true.
And it's not, so make sure you're, pretend like you're a kid again. You don't want any of your food touching, right? So make sure you lay it out on a single layer, nothing overlapping, and stick it in the oven, 375. Start with 15 minutes. See how you feel with it when it comes out. It's really simple. It's really easy. That's how we make bacon at our house. It's plus you can when you cook it in a skillet. Yeah, it's great, but you have to pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just walk away. You stick it in the oven. You can just throw it in the oven. You have 15 minutes. You can do other stuff.
Exactly. So. Well, and apart from it's kind of safer because you're not going to have a stove fire on the top. And it's a way cleaner, and it's all goodness.
Right.
And I think the final result is way more enjoyable for me anyway.
Yes, and you can then use that bacon grease to cook other stuff in.
That too. You can tip whatever's left. You can tip that out, and so that can be the start of your bacon grease collection.
Like baconaise, you can make your own baconaise, people.
Or you can just saute your delicious leeks in it. Leeks sauteed in bacon fat, delicious.
Can I get that without the leeks? Because that sounds great. That sounds better to me. Just saying. All right. So what's next? So aside from cooking bacon the correct way, what do we have? What else?
So let's talk about, because we did the nut episode, but I forgot to talk about roasting hazelnuts, and it bothered me that I'd left off such an important detail. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about how to roast hazelnuts
properly.
And Mr. Williamson here said, okay, why are we being so exclusive? I mean, why is this just about hazelnuts? Well, hazelnuts aren't special. And
I did not say that. I did not say that, because hazelnuts, let's face it, anyone who knows, hazelnuts are special.
Yes, they are.
Right.
But there is a good reason why hazelnuts are special, in that they need their own little show segment, is that you can, for the most part, hazelnuts come with their little brown papery wrappers on them, and they come unroasted or toasted, or they just come kind of raw. And so the flavor of hazelnuts is like day and night between a raw hazelnut and a toasted one. It's like day and night. So much. A roasted hazelnut is so much yummier.
Well, right. So hold on. A roasted hazelnut tastes like a hazelnut. A non-roasted hazelnut tastes like you're biting into some sort of alien pod food thing that may or may not be trying to kill you as you're chewing it.
I was trying to be a little less harsh, but yes, you're right.
Okay. Well, then what she said.
Yeah.
We'll go with that.
So when you roast hazelnuts, you're going to have all the skin. You need to get it off after you've roasted them. And so my little trick for doing that very quickly and very easily is, once you've roasted your hazelnuts, i.e. sling them on a baking tray and shove them in the oven at about 300 degrees. Do not walk away. They roast really, really quickly. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. Nobody likes burnt nuts.
No, they don't.
So pop them in the oven. Don't leave them. Give them a shake so they roll and they get browned evenly. When they're done, which is literally only a few minutes, pull them out. What you want on your kitchen counter is a clean, I'm going to call it a tea towel, but I'm not actually sure. I can never remember what you call them here. The cloth thing that you dry
cheesecloth?
in.
Cheesecloth?
No. The towel that you dry plates with.
Oh, a dish towel.
Dish towel. Okay. So you get a clean dish towel or tea towel and you put it on your counter and you carefully tip your freshly roasted hazelnuts onto that. And then you get another clean dish towel, tea towel, and lay it on top. And then you just rub the hazelnuts through the towel. And all those little brown papery skins will just fall off. And then what I do is I pick up all four corners of the bottom tea towel and tip all the nuts into a sieve and then shake it, and then all the papery bits will just fall away and you're just left with lovely golden delicious toasted hazelnuts.
When you do this, you're gonna be tempted to run water over this. Do not do not succumb to this temptation. That nothing.
And also do not eat them all.
Well, I don't know about that. But
not all at once anyway.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Do not overdo hazelnuts, because let me tell you, nothing good comes from that. It's a thing in moderation. I love hazelnuts, but you can overdo it pretty quickly, and your bathroom is not going to appreciate it. I'm just saying that. All right. So the other thing is too, I want to point out that we not only are we being discriminatory against all the other nuts, but we are also not properly addressing hazelnuts to begin with, because they go by another name too, and someone may not know what a hazelnut is. They're also known as filberts.
And in England, they're known as cob nuts.
Okay, so now that the international community is aware of what's going on, now you know.
Because we love everybody, right?
Yes.
Carrie, yes.
I have a feeling that's the correct answer. Yes is the correct answer. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So now there's a reason why we wanted to talk about this particular thing, because Carrie has a recipe in her holiday cookbook that specifically involves hazelnuts. So.
This is going to be very relevant information, because you're all going to need to know how to skin hazelnuts. And so now you have that information ahead of time.
Originally, you're welcome. Now, originally there's an idiom in the English language, in America at least, that started off with, there's more than one way to skin a hazelnut, but that quickly changed to cat, right? Because that's just
let's not. Let's be steady now when we get to cat.
Steady on, mate. Yeah.
That was very good.
Thank you. I've been listening. So yeah, for those people who don't know, Carrie is quite fond of her cats. So she only insists on one way to skin them, and that's it. Nothing else. There's no more than one way to do it.
Anyway, that is the best way to get the little papery skins off your freshly roasted hazelnuts.
All right. So what's next?
So I had some questions on the Facebook group, and it was around xanthan gum versus guar gum.
Oh, these are good. Yeah, I'm interested in this because I'm curious. I'd like to know why they matter, what they are, how they're different. So I'm listening. Go ahead.
So they are, a lot of people think that they are just interchangeable, and if they have one in their cupboard, and if they have xanthan gum in the cupboard and the recipe says guar gum, then they can just use xanthan gum and expect the same result because it does the same thing, and that's just not true. There is some leeway to that. You can do anything you like, but you won't get the same result if you just willy-nilly switch out one for the other. And so I wanted to talk about that a bit because somebody specifically asked me that question on the Facebook group. So I thought there's probably a bunch of people that know that want to know that. And my recipes again, and I know a lot of you are new to my recipes, but my recipes are very, very specific. And so where it says guar gum, I highly recommend that you use guar gum. And where it says xanthan gum, I highly recommend that you use xanthan gum. Guar gum is made from a bean. Don't remember which bean, but it's the ground goodness of a bean.
It actually comes from a guar bean.
A guar bean. There we go. Don't get freaked out about the whole bean thing because the amount of guar gum you use in an entire batch of a recipe is like half a teaspoon, and so the amount of bean you're consuming per thing is like minuscule. And your body will be going, bean? What bean? There was no bean. No, right. No bean.
So just to put people's minds at ease, it's not an actual like part of the bean. It's actually the see if I can remember this correctly. It is actually the endosperm of the beans themselves that are ground up. It's not the actual like meat of the legume itself. It's a very, very small portion of it. So it's essentially not even a macro is kind of the point. So
right, it's like a condiment. But actually there have been a lot of studies out there that have shown that guar gum is very good for your microbiome, and it's actually good at helping with weight loss. But that doesn't mean you should go and eat an entire canister of it. But it does have it actually does have benefits as well as being great at what it does in a foodstuff. So guar gum is a good thing.
Yeah, it is a probiotic. So it is a beneficial food.
It is. So I know a lot of people are confused because they see it and they think it's some scary additive that is going to do something terrible to them or whatever. Guar gum's all goodness.
All goodness all the time.
It's all goodness all the time. So the difference between guar gum and xanthan gum. Xanthan is actually and I can't quite remember because it's a long time since I actually studied this stuff. Now I know just what they do, but
right.
They grow xanthan gum. It's kind of this is going to sound disgusting, but they grow. It's a microbe that they grow.
Yeah.
And
it's produced by a bacteria, and they put the bacteria in a precipitate, primarily of isopropyl alcohol. And after a fermentation period takes place, this substance, it's a polysaccharide, gets excreted. And that's what they take, and they use that, and that they basically dehydrate that, and that's what xanthan gum is. Sounds gross, doesn't it?
Yes, it does sound gross. So that's probably why I had forgotten the ins and outs of it. But also xanthan gum is fine. You don't need to worry about it. So the difference is, which is the application in the kitchen, which is what I'm more interested in. So they both thicken. Guar gum is an exceptionally good emulsifier, which means that it's able to keep things in suspension because it stops all the water molecules and the fat molecules from separating out. It keeps them all bound together in a nice emulsion, like mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is an emulsion. Guar gum will stop the mayonnaise from breaking or separating out the oil and the water, because oil and water hate each other. So guar gum is what holds the water and fat molecules in suspension.
Right. So right. So like fat is considered hydrophobic, right? So fat molecules are considered hydrophobic. That's why when you pour oil into water, it separates. The oil will stay on top, the water goes in the bottom. Well, to emulsify, you are finding a way to allow those molecules to basically hold hands, right?
Live together,
yeah,
yes, in peace and harmony.
and
Yep.
you know that's one of the reasons that I was going to say mayonnaise before Carrie did, but she was talking, so she beat me to it. But egg yolks are one of the best kinds of emulsifiers that there are. So that's why mayonnaise
It's made with eggs. That's the only reason that
Right.
there's egg yolks in mayonnaise, is because of the emulsifying effects.
Right. So guar gum is a better emulsifier than xanthan gum.
Yes. So and it also works better in cold applications. So, for example, for your mayonnaise or for anything or your smoothies, guar gum is magical in smoothies, because a lot of if you ever have smoothies that have spinach in, you'll find that very quickly after you've made them, they will get gloopy and they'll be a bit separatey, and you have to drink them immediately. If you put them in the fridge for an hour, you'll just have this water at one end of the container and the rest of it at the other. If you add like a quarter of a teaspoon, maybe half a teaspoon of guar gum when you're blending that smoothie, you will get a smoothie that has a texture like melted ice cream. It makes the experience of drinking a kind of a spinachy, health shake into something magical.
Another option for a spinach smoothie would be just to throw it away.
I knew you were going to say that, but there are a lot of people out there who, and I actually have a bunch of smoothie recipes in my Smoothie Insides book, and so I know from having a long time, a lot of people telling me how much they love the fact that I taught them about guar gum, because it has completely transformed their experience of having a leafy green shake, because guar gum turns it into melted ice cream consistency, which is just way more pleasant to drink. And it'll also, you can make your smoothie, in the morning before you leave, and you can, and especially if you're doing intermittent fasting, and take it with you. And at lunchtime, it will still look exactly like melted ice cream, yummy milkshake. It won't have separated out, and it'll just, it transforms it into something magical texture-wise.
All right, so texture matters.
Texture matters a lot. A lot of people just will not get on the kind of the spinach smoothie bandwagon because of the texture. Well, guar gum fixes that. So guar gum is used mostly for emulsification, not thickening. It does thicken, but its number one thing that it does best is emulsify, and also cold applications. It just doesn't do as well when it's heated. Now, xanthan gum does thicken, but it's better off when it's used in hot applications, and it's used more for thickening and providing structure than it is for emulsification. So xanthan gum I use in baked goods, like where you're missing the gluten from flour. So xanthan gum provides some of the structure that not having gluten means is not there. That's where you want to focus on using xanthan gum, is in baked goods, hot applications where you're looking for structure, guar gum in cold applications where you're looking for emulsification.
That's excellent. I'm writing stuff down, believe it or not.
And somebody on Facebook asked me, had I trialed, we were talking specifically about ice cream, and she said, had I trialed both? And my response was, I have trialed xanthan gum versus guar gum in so many different things over the last 5 years that I now don't need to waste time testing it in, say, wasting, an entire batch of ice cream testing it, because I know what to use for what application now.
Right. So yeah,
So
life experience teaches you, right?
yes, so I now know. So I'm not going to trial it in certain things where I just know that guar gum is the better option or that xanthan gum is the better option. They're not really interchangeable. You'll get a different result. You'll get a better result if you use the right one.
Gotcha.
So in my recipes where I specify guar gum, I highly recommend, if you want the best result, use guar gum. And if I specify xanthan gum, I highly recommend that you use xanthan gum if you want the best result.
All right. So pretty simple, pretty easy. And if you're not sure, go back and listen to it again. So what's the next one?
And that segues us on to thickening, because what the internet recipe land will tell you is that xanthan gum and guar gum are thickeners, which they are, but, and I have trialed, you have no idea how many pints of cheese sauce I have made over the last years in order to find the absolute best thickener.
Uh-huh.
And it's not xanthan gum and it's not guar gum. It is actually, I mean, literally hundreds of pints of liquid I have thickened for no purpose other than testing thickening agents. And the best thickening agent out there, for a number of reasons, is something called konjac flour, Konjac. It's also known as glucomannan powder.
All right. So it's not pronounced cognac.
No.
Okay. Just making sure. Because cognac powder, that sounds like it's going to appeal to a certain segment of the population a little bit different. Like you can get your after dinner drink while camping. All you have to do is add water now, because that seems to appeal to a certain kind of camper.
Yeah.
But you're saying it's konjac powder, not cognac.
Right. Konjac, Konjac.
Okay.
Some of you will recognize that, or glucomannan powder, because that's what miracle noodles are made of.
What's a miracle noodle?
The shirataki noodles.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
Sorry, I think Miracle Noodle is brand name, so sorry. Shirataki noodles are made of glucomannan / konjac flour. So if you recognize that, that's where it is. I can't stress to you enough the difference that you will find in your sauces and gravies and soups and whatnot if you switch to using konjac flour versus xanthan and guar gum. And this is particularly relevant if you're talking about sauces that involve dairy. And I'm sure most of you have had the experience where you've got a sauce that involves dairy of some kind, either heavy cream or sour cream or, some kind of dairy or cheese. It's got a lot of cheese in it. If you use xanthan or guar gum, the chances are your sauce is going to be slimy. And so for a lot of people, while that's passable and it's okay, and it means they don't have to use cornstarch, corn flour anymore, and it's okay, you don't have to put up with slimy sauces. If you use konjac flour, it does not. It's easier to use. It does not make any dairy ingredients slimy. It also does not break down. You'll find that xanthan gum and guar gum, if you eat it all in the moment, as long as you can get past the slimy bit, if you eat it all in the moment, it's good. But if you have, say, something in a sauce and you eat half of it and you put it in the fridge overnight, you'll find that in most cases that sauce will break down. And if you try and heat it up the next day, you're just going to have a gloopy, yucky sauce. Whereas with konjac flour, doesn't do that. It reheats magically as the beautiful sauce that you had the day before. You have no slimy taste. It has no aftertaste. It's easier to use. And it will give you a sauce that is indistinguishable from the taste and texture of a sauce that you would have got using cornstarch or corn flour.
All right. So what you're telling me is this may be the answer to a lot of people's problems.
Yes.
Okay, then. Say it one more time. How do you spell it one more time for the audience?
KONJAC.
All right.
Konjac flour, also known as glucomannan powder. GLUCOMANNAN.
Okay.
And in the US, I don't know if you can get now, but in the US now, have a brand where they do a lot of cool stuff. They do guar gum, xanthan gum, very good price. So Now brand have glucomannan powder. It's getting more readily available. You shouldn't have any problem finding it on Amazon.
Yeah, so it should be pretty easy.
But also, you also may find it in health food stores, but it won't be in the cooking department because nobody knows that it's brilliant for thickening yet. I'm hoping to change that. You'll find it in the supplement department because it historically glucomannan powder has been used as a appetite suppressant.
Okay.
So if you're in a health food store, look for glucomannan powder in the supplement section, not in the bakery section.
All right. That's a ton of great tips right there. You're not going to find that information anywhere else, folks. You're only going to get that from
no one else
Carrie
is
Brown.
using it.
Right. Until now.
But seriously, I have no agenda here. I have made hundreds of pints of sauce just to find the best. And by the best, I mean the one that most closely resembles cornstarch or corn flour in terms of taste, texture, cookability, what it does the next day, what it does when it's cold, what it does when it's reheated. And konjac flour is absolutely, hands down, the best.
All right, so there you go. Those are our 5 odds and ends kind of tips and tricks, Q&A sort of things that we wanted to go over. So people have our job is to make your life in the kitchen a little bit easier. So hopefully hopefully you learn something and it'll help moving forward. So what
I forgot something.
What?
It's you use an incredibly small amount, so don't be alarmed by the cost.
All right. So if it's $1,000, it's going to last you a long time. So there you go. Hopefully it's not $1,000.
It's nowhere near $1,000, but relatively you might go, but you use, like half a teaspoon at a time. It's incredibly, it thickens 10 times the power of cornstarch.
Okay, there you go. So I was going to ask if you had any parting shots, but I guess that is your parting shot to say.
That was my parting shot.
All right. Well,
konjac flour for the win.
FTW for to win. All right. Carrie Brown, this has been fun. I look forward to talking to you next week.
See ya.